Welcome to Jeremiah's Porch Talks. This is where we take a few minutes, talk about leadership and life, right here from my front porch in Sykesville, Maryland. Rain or shine, this is a time for us to reflect, reset, and get ready for whatever comes next in our respective journeys. I'm Jeremiah. Thanks for joining me. I will tell you, today's porch session is going to be a little bit longer than normal, but it's a really important topic. Today we're going to explore something that many of us don't like to admit. What do you do when you don't have enough hope for yourself? Sometimes when you're in a hard season, when you're worn out, when you're uncertain or afraid, you don't have the confidence or the belief or even the hope to take that next step. That's when we may need to borrow hope. You see, some people say, fake it till you'll make it. I actually remember my mom telling me this when I was a kid. What I found is that this phrase has gotten a bad rap. And whereas I understand that, especially if it's used to promote arrogance or dishonesty or pretending to be something that you're really not, it can be really dangerous. But there is another way to see it. Sometimes fake it till you make it is simply this. Keep moving forward with borrowed courage, with borrowed belief, with borrowed hope, even when your own reservoir is dry. I want to take a look at a few life moments where this has actually played out. The first one being Martin Luther King Jr. I believe that he borrowed courage in the face of fear. Dr. King faced danger daily, but at one point, things became deeply personal. He spoke of nights when death threats weren't just against him, they were against his wife and his children. He once recounted sitting alone at his kitchen table, praying quietly, feeling overwhelmed with fear, hearing still a small voice telling him to keep going. Most of us can muster the courage when it takes our lives into stake. But when our children's lives are in danger, that's a whole new level of burden. And yet, Dr. King pressed on. He once said, "Courage is an inner resolution to go forward despite obstacles, and cowardice is submissive surrender to circumstances." I would venture to say that at times, Dr. King was likely running on some borrowed hope, drawn from his faith, from his community, and from the people who believed in the dream, even when that dream didn't seem possible. The second story is John F. Kennedy and the Bay of Pigs failure. In 1961, the Bay of Pigs invasion failed horribly. JFK, who was a young president at the time, was thrust into a crisis that embarrassed the nation and almost started a world war. But what's remarkable is what happened next. He didn't retreat. He publicly took responsibility, he regrouped, and he worked with his advisors to navigate the Cuban Missile Crisis, which, as we all know, brought the world closer to a nuclear war than it had ever been in history before up till that time. He had to lean into a space where his own confidence was tested. And during that time, he leaned into the resolve of others around him, his brother Bobby, key advisors, and even political rivals who rallied together to stabilize a fragile world. JFK once said, "When written in Chinese, the word crisis is composed of two characters. One represents danger, and the other represents opportunity." He borrowed the confidence to believe that even in failure, you could see as a platform of strength. The third story is George W. Bush during September 11th. On 9/11, President Bush faced a situation no leader has ever fully prepared for. The country was under attack. Fear and chaos gripped every corner of the nation. I remember watching him standing on the rubble of the World Trade Center with that bullhorn in his hand and speaking to the rescue workers. "I can hear you. The rest of the world hears you. And the people who knock these buildings down will hear all of us soon." That wasn't bravado. That was leadership stepping into a moment when millions needed someone to project hope. The fourth story is about the Chilean miners. Years after 9/11, the world watched as 33 Chilean miners were trapped underground for 69 days with very little chance of survival. An unprecedented engineering effort brought them home. The leaders and rescue teams had no guarantee that it would work, but they leaned into a stubborn resolve driven by faith, science, and a collective belief to literally pull people from darkness into light. Because here's the truth. Sometimes you don't fake it to deceive, you fake it to survive. You hold your head up when your knees are trembling. You speak hope even when your voice shakes. And you borrow courage from others until you can find your own again. See, that's the deeper meaning of fake it till you make it. It's not pretending you aren't afraid. It's choosing to move forward anyway. So you might say, why does this all matter for you and me? Well, it's because life, wonderful life, throws each of us into situations where our hope runs thin. Whether that's a medical diagnosis, a business failure, a broken relationship, a lost job, or the weight of leading others through some sort of a crisis. In those moments, we need to borrow hope from friends, from family, from mentors, or even from stories like the ones that I just spoke about. So here's our challenge. If you have hope today, share it freely. Lend it with someone who's struggling. And if you don't have enough hope today, borrow it. Stand on the stories of others until you're on your own feet and steady again. And remember the words of Dr. King, who said, you don't have to see the entire staircase. You just need to be willing to take the first step. I'll leave you with this. We really are all in this together. And sometimes your borrowed hope today will become someone else's anchor tomorrow. That's it for today. Thanks for spending a few minutes with me on Jeremiah's Porch Talks. Rain or shine, extreme heat or cold, I'll see you next time. And always remember to keep the most important things the most important things.